Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I am super excited to share with you an interview with the gorgeous Krystal Hill from Hill House Publishing. Now, Krystal and I have worked together in the production of one of our books, the Mad book, Making a Difference, Ways to Magnify Life, Abundance and Freedom. So we'll touch on that, but we've got a working relationship. We've got a special connection. So I'm super excited to bring this one to you. So quick introduction then, Krystal. Tell us a bit more about you and what's brought you to where you are now.
If we're staying on topic, because this is one thing I say to my authors, you're always telling your story through the lens of whatever the topic of the book is, or in this sense, the topic of the podcast, from page to stage. So I started writing. I remember I still have my first writing when I was 9 years old. I was writing this story about the bees and the birds and nature and spring coming, and I still have it, and it's beautiful. So writing has always been a way in which I kind of connect with myself and connect with the world and make sense of the world. From, as I said, from that very, very young age. I had a real passion for literature when I was growing up. Grew up without a TV, bless my parents.
Bet you didn't at the time, though.
Well, it just was what it was. Right? I just, cultural references just went over my head, unfortunately. I didn't like that part so much, but what do you do when you don't have TV? You read. So I was an avid reader when I was younger. And I ended up studying English literature and theater studies because it was a real passion. What I loved about when reading books is that I got to understand other characters, other people's worlds. It opened up to me. And what really fascinated me is, why do people do what they do? What motivates people? That was like a big interest of mine, and continues to be, because later on, after having worked as a theater director for 7 years, I then ended up in my 30s becoming a life coach. And so that's when I actively looked at that and helped people to live a better life. So it's really fascinating how my training ground for that work was as a director, where I brought these dynamics of emotions alive on stage and really studied humanity in many respects, and then transferred that by studying it even deeper when I became a life coach. And then, of course, and this is when COVID hit. So pre-COVID, my life looked like every second weekend I would fly to Melbourne or Brisbane, or would run a workshop in Melbourne. I was fly to Brisbane or Sydney, or run a workshop in Melbourne to do with embodiment, expression, sacred connections. Having trained as a tantra teacher as well, and of course all of that shut down, and I had to reinvent myself again. And what came was the opportunity to be in 2 multi-author books, of one at first and then the second one followed. And I really, really loved that experience because the camaraderie, the common goal, the launch day of cheering each other on, no competition, everybody collaborating, friendships being built, visions shared. It was such a beautiful experience that when the opportunity arose to be trained in doing this myself, my whole body was just a yes. And so that's how 3 years ago I ended up working on my first multi-author book.
And seeing the titles in behind you, how many published now?
I think 14. Some solo books and some multi-author books, yes, all within the 3 years. And everyone became an international best-selling book.
How good does that feel? Did it ever lose its luster because you've done it so many times?
There's always an excitement on launch day, and I always buy into the excitement of the it's like I'm the mama bear, right? Like and my children are graduating and they're so excited, and they're getting, so I'm buying into their excitement and I support their excitement. And so but I also have the responsibility to get there. Have I
Yes.
trained them well enough to do it well enough so that we achieve this, you know, because it's not always that easy. So yeah, it's a bit of both.
Doesn't just happen, does it? There's a little bit of
No.
effort and work involved.
And strategy, yes.
Oh, and
Effort, work,
strategy,
training.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, there is.
Because when we did the Mad Book, and here we go, I'm going to do a shameless plug.
Yes, go for it. Woo, we've disappeared.
Did it disappear?
It did, yeah.
Oh,
there we go. Do it. Yeah, that's as high as it likes to go. Yes.
Right, that's fine.
Oh, beautiful butterfly.
We had, yes, it was wonderful. And that artwork in and of itself was what drew a lot of people in. So I
did. And it won an award as well, didn't it?
It did. So, I mean, we're looking at a multi-sensory thing when you're writing, aren't you? Because there's not only the cover that draws people in to start with. Once you get into a book, I'm noticing from the multi-author books people I've been talking to who've been involved with them, you don't have to read it cover to cover. And with the advent of too long didn't read and a very fast-paced, we expect things to happen this like that, and I haven't got time to sit and read a book. What are you talking about? We can dip in and out of those multi-authors, can't we? And choose to go, okay, I feel like, let's have a look. Oh, ditching the script today. Life is an improv. I'm literally just opened the book and picked up one of our chapters.
Yes.
So that's one of the advantages of a multi-author book. And you've got lots of people, as you said, it's teamwork, it's camaraderie. Everybody's in it together and they're all supporting, you know, the rising tide lifts all ships. Tell us how different it is with the solo work, because I believe you've got a solo incubator coming up. Okay.
That is correct, Wendy. Yes, I do. The difference with a solo book is that the planning phase takes a lot longer.
Okay.
So we really, so what I do is because writing is such a lonely venture, right? So, or can be. So bringing people together with a common interest and a common goal to writing their individual book actually increases the chances of them finishing a book, because there is that group, there is that energy, that container that is created. And so that's why I do it in a group. So the difference is, the planning, you know, you're planning a whole book rather than just one chapter. So that takes a little bit more involved thinking of who's the ideal reader, you know, what do you really want to say, and why should people listen to you? What's your unique take on the topic that's probably already out there on Amazon? So all of that gets taken into consideration. It's almost like writing a business plan for a book.
Okay.
And once that is really in place, and I do a lot of supporting in that early phase, because that's where people have so many ideas. They say, well, I could go here, I could go there, I could do this. And then we say, okay, so what is the intention for your business? Where's the book taking you where's the book taking your business? And then that clarifies things. And so we really tune down onto what makes the most sense at this time to write about, and also what lights them up the most, you know, because it's a book. We're going to write this for a little while, and you need to be passionate about the story and the things, the content that you're writing.
Yes, definitely.
So I think that, that's the main difference. Yes.
There will be challenges, roadblocks, plot twists, if you will, along the way to slow you down, if not try and stop you. And it's holding on to that intention, holding on to where is it that we're going with this? What's my North Star, if you will? And yeah, your words do have power. So what is it that you're telling yourself? How is it where is this book going? Yeah, exciting. So you've got the concept of an incubator. Can you share a bit more about that if people aren't familiar with that term?
Yeah, so an incubator is normally something where you breed things, right? I think so it's like we're breeding our creative ideas, where we're coming in, nurturing, creating, conceiving the ideas for the book. So in practical terms, what that looks like, it's a 4-month program with weekly meetings that are some training, part training, and part co-working. Because what I found in the past is that when I did my first round, that life got too busy for people and they didn't, but they did show up for the meetings because they were blocked out in the calendar.
Yeah.
So I decided this time around that we extend the meeting times and we do the homework or the whatever they need to do in the meetings themselves, so that it gets done.
It gets
and
done,
then we also have some virtual weekend writing retreats. Where we come together, set intentions for the like 4-hour block, and then everybody gets to write, and we do it in that sort of supported way. Yeah.
So is the idea then that, I mean, you said it's a 4-month program. Is the idea that the book gets published at the end, or is that we've done the work, now we can set a date for publication whenever? I'm just thinking, but because with a multi-author book, you know the date that you're going for. And with a solo book, and if you've got a group of people, are they all coming out the same day is what I'm getting at?
Yeah, no, they won't all come out at the same day. No, I think it's very individual, because some people will have more time out in those 4 months that they can dedicate to writing. Others will have a little less. So it's a very individual process. But the container for the community is open to them for an entire year. So they'll stay in the energy for an entire year. They will just, the meetings stop at the 4-month mark.
Gotcha.
I don't have an expectation of people, right? There's these people that are making claims, write a book in a weekend. I think you can plan a book in a weekend for sure. I think you can record voice to text certain things and get the bulk down, absolutely. But to have a finished book that you've reviewed several times, where you've put in, where you've been able to sit and connect to your higher wisdom and pour that onto the page, I don't think you can do that in a weekend. So I don't, even 4 months, maybe not. I mean, this is where the better you plan, the faster you write. That's what I found.
Yeah.
The better you plan, the faster you write. So that's why we spend a lot of time on the planning. And then, however, whenever people, whenever it fits into their plans, they will then publish, and we have the publishing packages for them, waiting for them for when they're ready.
So the incubator is separate from the publishing package?
It can be purchased together, and if they do, they get a discount.
Right.
A decent one is that, but it can also be done separately.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you decide that after a year, still working on this, you can then choose, and ideally you've already set your date, otherwise it disappears into the ether. And the whole point is get the book done, isn't it?
That's it, exactly. And that we're really fighting against the statistics here, and I'm forever looking for ways to improve them, because it says like there's about 67% of people know they need to write a book. And I now believe that every business needs a book, because there's so much fakeness out there, so many empty promises, and a book really shows that you have enough knowledge to fill a whole book. Now that is credibility. Now that shows that you have become an expert in your field. And currently we're actually still ahead of the bell curve, because there's more business owners who don't have a book than those who do. So it's a perfect time to actually write a book now. And the questions I always get is like, but I don't know what to write. Do I have enough content? I have too many things. And so that's something that I address when I have a chat to people, because it does have to make sense. Yes. And if I can't see it, then I won't be able to hold it. So that's what we just explore in sort of discovery conversations. Like, what is it for? Why do you want to write it? Who's your audience? All of that. And when I can see it, I can reflect it back, and then they can see it. And it's like, oh yeah, now I can see it. Now I can see how it fits into my business plan.
Because the thing is, if it's my baby, I'm so attached to it. I don't get that slightly objective view on it. And the number of times when people have said to me, I kind of get the idea of what you're talking about, but I'm not fully there. Well, wasn't that obvious? I mean, just from a cultural perspective, because as you know, I have contacts across the world. And recently there have been a couple of episodes where I've recorded things where I've made a cultural, I thought was not a cultural reference, but clearly was, and been met with a blank stare or even an embarrassed look. And I thought, okay, that doesn't mean the same to you as it does to me. Shall I explain that? Oh, yes, please. So this is where you have the objective ability, you sitting there going, give me a bit more information on that, please. So I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to give that objective view.
Yes. So yeah, so my invitation is always, if somebody's thinking about it, go and have a conversation, because the worst thing that can come out of it is that you walk away with more clarity on what the book would be about and how a book can help your business.
So that's what you offer as a discovery call first.
Yes.
And then armed with that information, is this the right thing for me to do? Do I need to do a little bit more refining? Is actually my business is one thing, but I want to talk about something else in a book. Disconnect. Again, back to the intention of
exactly.
the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So any conversation, I offer conversations, and they just come out with such clarity. Such clarity, which is always beautiful to see. And then they get so excited, oh my God, I think I can write a book now, which is lovely.
Yes. And then Mama Bear starts going, yes, you can. Yes. Oh,
yes.
That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Because I mean, just reflecting back on the shared experience we have with the Mad Book, wasn't it so good to see the reaction of people? And when the physical book came out, we encouraged the authors to video the moment that they opened up the box and actually held the book. And I literally 2 days ago, I encouraged another lady that I'm going to be recording in a few weeks to do that, because she said, oh, I'm only a contributory author. I went, oh, that's your book. You're part of it. And when the book arrives, please do open the box. So on that basis, she did. And because her anthology was a 365 days, so it was literally only about 250 words they had to write. She recorded herself reading her bit, and it was so precious. It was so precious to hear, because that's the point, isn't it? Actually hearing the author speak their words is so incredibly powerful, which leads me on to my next point of going from page to stage. Now, for you, Krystal, which came first, the writing or the speaking? Because you do both.
I do both, absolutely. And I would say the writing definitely did come first, especially, I mean, it depends on how close we put the parameters, right? If we say overall in my life, I shared with you in the beginning, 9 years old, I definitely wasn't speaking then, but I was writing. And yeah, it definitely was the writing first. And then the speaking came independent of the writing at first, through my workshops, through my facilitations, and then being asked to be on podcasts for the coaching that I did, or the work that I did. And then when the publishing came, it became definitely very focused on, all right, let's share the content of these books, and also then featuring the authors of those books as well, of course.
Because you do fireside chats with the authors, don't you, on the run up to a launch? So you've got those interviews, which in and of themselves are basically a mini podcast, aren't they?
Totally, they are mini podcasts. Yes.
Yeah. So we have an interviewer, we have a podcast guest, and you do the marketing. Do you still do any facilitation workshops and things like that?
Not at the moment. They're on hold.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can imagine that, as you mentioned, COVID basically messed up any live stuff. And whilst we're now allowed out to play again, there are an awful lot of people who've decided, I'm quite happy to do this from the comfort of my own home. I don't need to get on a plane. I don't need to worry about time zones. I don't need to worry about the green impact. So the virtual market has not gone away and is never going to go away. In fact, it's probably still, well, I've seen the stats. They're talking about the virtual speaking market being worth an increase of $27 billion in the next few years.
Wow.
I'd like
that is
right?
Amazing.
Isn't
So
it?
there's a lot of opportunities that we can start tapping into.
Yes. Which is why then I'm really encouraging authors to say, okay, your book will not speak for itself. You need to speak to it and for it. So we need to get you from page to stage. So the authors who are particularly fierty, and for those of you listening on the podcast, that's a sort of strangled, scared sound. We've got to get you talking. And this is where I find that an awful lot of authors are prepared to speak one-on-one. Great. Hey, podcast. On the surface of it, it's you and the host only. So it's a nice little chat. And then I go, okay, well, now how are we going to bring in the audience? Otherwise, it's an earwigging in a conversation, which is okay, but what's in it for me? So the idea of including the audience and remembering, again, particularly as most are recorded visually, that things like the visual expressions, we have to explain that to the audio-only audience. Is they're missing out on something? Yes. So that's where I'm going with the from page to stage. So you said your writing came first, the speaking came independently, and now they kind of interchange. So that's a really helpful description for you, because I know some of our other guests have started speaking, gone back to writing, not gone back to, but then put stuff down on paper. So they've kind of flip-flopped between the page and the stage. That's really helpful because, Krystal, people come at it from different angles. So thank you for sharing that. Now, we've already mentioned that you have an incubator coming up. Can you share a little bit more about when you're launching that, please?
Good question. I have been sick for a little while, so things have become fluid. There is one incubator that is starting in the week of the 18th of April. 18th. And then 18th of April, so that's coming up soon. And I was planning on doing a couple, 2 or 3 in parallel. So they will just now starting in a staggered manner. So there will still be an opportunity to join, probably one in May and one in June. So that's how it looks like it's going to end up now. Yeah.
I'm getting the impression that you cap the number within each incubator.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's 10 people per cohort. Yeah.
Okay. So that way they get more of your attention and it feels more personalized.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Everybody gets spot coaching in the meetings. We have a community where everybody can ask questions in between meetings as well. So if something urgent comes up and you're feeling, I need an answer now, that goes into the community and gets answered there. Oh, cool. Yeah. And it's just a really fun way, I think, of taking on what could be a rather daunting task.
Exactly. And also because it's a solo work, we're going back to our original point, the fact that writing can be a very lonely affair. It's you, your laptop, or you and the physical pen. And getting that sense of community, getting that sense of, I'm in this with other people. There's a team here. We may be working on our solo projects, but I've got so-and-so I can go and talk to. Have you hit a block? How did you get out of it? That sort of thing. Yeah. And I'm imagining,
and it's also like almost like an sorry, Wendy. It's almost like an early reader review as well. Like you can test ideas and get feedback from a group, not just one person.
Yeah. And I'm wondering whether I'm assuming that you have a global reach on these things.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes there'll be questions that come up urgently while you're asleep.
Potentially, yes. And they will have to maybe just wait for 8 hours for me to wake up again.
Or somebody else in the group will answer it. Yeah.
Exactly. That happens too. Yes, that's it.
So where do you find most of your authors coming from?
A lot of them come from the multi-author books that we have. You know, they've been in a multi-author book and they think, oh, I'm ready now to write my full book. That is the majority of what happens. You know, people have already written something either with myself or with somebody else, and they feel like, yeah, now is the time. I'm ready to share more and ready to do my solo book.
Sure. Because I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? A lot of people who know they have a story to tell, but the whole thing of, have I got it in me to write a whole book? The multi-author book gives you the opportunity to test the water. And you've got your #1 international bestseller in there.
Yeah, you're already an author, and
Yeah.
your nervous system also has gotten used to it already. That's the other thing I say. And when people say, should I go solo book first or should I go multi-author? And to be honest, some are jumping straight into a solo book and saying, no, I'm going to bypass that one. I'll be fine. And they go straight for their solo book, which is exciting. Yeah.
Because I mean, you've written plays as well, haven't you? Sort of your writing experience is quite diverse. So people
It
can
is.
come.
I have.
The reason I'm mentioning that is quite apart from the fact of well done you, because people have brought your words to life on the stage.
On stage, that is so true. They have taken my words literally from page to stage.
Yeah.
Yes. When I was 24, I took a screenwriting course at university, and that book was picked up off Broadway, and somebody put it on stage, and that was very exciting to seeing somebody else's interpretation of my words, and how it all came to life.
So you didn't direct it?
No.
How did that feel? Did they get your essence there?
They did. And then some, like they brought another dimension to it that perhaps I hadn't even seen, because it was obviously it's all in my head, and suddenly you have these different actors and a director who puts their interpretation on it. It was fascinating. I really enjoy. It's such an enjoyable process.
Wow. Oh, I'm goosey with the thought of it. One day those solo books are going to be screenplays.
Yes, absolutely.
Why not? If
have your autobiography on Netflix, right?
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, so many of the people that I talk to have got phenomenal tales. I mean,
oh, yes.
Just yesterday, I mean, your history, your story has gone from continent to continent and by flips and twists and all sorts. And the lady I had afternoon tea with yesterday, I can't remember how many different countries she's lived in. And it was mind-blowing to me, who, until I was advanced in years, had not really traveled. So, yeah, everybody's got a tale to tell.
Everybody has a story.
The quality of how you get that message across. You can impact, you can make a difference to your audience as they're reading it, but even more powerfully as you speak those words out. I'll just indulge in a minute. The first book that came out, The Awakened Feminine, that was one that was we had 6 of the authors based in Perth, and we did a book launch and signing, official one. We hired out the State Library of WA, and I offered the other girls a coaching session for reading from stage, and they did such a brilliant job. And they all went, oh, that was a really energetic experience. And one of them coined the term, I've been wended.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll live with that one.
And you find that the confidence of authors is, like, what I find is that the confidence that authors have really increases because when they write their story, when they write their expertise, they see how far they've come, and it shifts something because it comes out of their head onto the page.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's there, it's like it's physical now. It's like it's real, it's tangible for anybody to see.
Yeah.
And then that next step to then taking it onto the stage requires a whole other level of embodiment and confidence to deliver it, right?
Absolutely.
So it's such a powerful journey of empowerment.
It is. And a lot of them, I mean, you'll know from your experience of publishing them, a lot of people have poured their heart and soul into some telling some pretty traumatic stories. And that's why a lot of people have gone, oh, I'm not talking about this. I've written it down, but that's as far as it goes. And that's where I'm very keen that when people do speak about those traumatic experiences, there's a way of languaging it so that you speak from your scars, not your wounds. Yes. Because I feel I have a duty of care that you don't re-traumatize yourself in the telling of it. There's a way of doing it so that you can still tap into the picture, the emotion of it without going there again.
And then there's the other thing that comes into this as well is the intention of why you're telling it. You're not telling it because you're in a therapy session and you need to tell it. You're telling your story with the intention of inspiring the reader or the listener, right? Yes. So it's got a completely different intentionality to it, which means that the story serves a teaching point.
Yes.
So it becomes the demonstration of that. And from that perspective, you can then, hold it in a very different way from the scars, not the wounds, as you said.
Because I mean, when we were doing the Mad book, there were a number of people who just, well, as you say, you get it out on paper, you do the verbal diarrhea thing first, and then you review it and go, what does the audience, what does my reader want to read? What's, as you say, the intention? What's the teaching point? What's the wisdom I'm sharing here? And that can be a bit of a shock to people to start with, because, oh, I'm writing my story. Yes, and does it need to be that level of fine detail? Do I really need to know the colour of your shoes? Unless you happen to be Dorothy wearing red slippers and going, there's no place like home. And that's important to them. And I go, yeah, but what about the reader? Somebody once described it as having every word needs to earn its living.
Yes.
Is it there for a reason? Is it going to draw you closer to your point? Or is it purely fluff? So, yeah.
I like that expression. Yes, absolutely.
In its place. Cool. Okay, my love. Now, you've got this coming up. When does the incubator launch?
The starting one, the first one is starting on April 18th.
April the 18th. Now, we're going to have a global audience. It's the 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it.
So the
18th, the week
of. The 18th for Australasia. And when we pop the notes in, you'll be able to go and contact Krystal and go, right, this is my time zone. If you don't happen to be anywhere west of Ireland, I think that tends to be the cut-off point. Anywhere west of Ireland, and then, hello, it's a different day. But that's fine. So that's what you've got coming up. Now, winding up here, Krystal, is there any actionable strategies, any pearls of wisdom you can share with the audience that you use when you embody your words, when you go from page to stage?
Yes. I think the important thing is slowing down enough to embody the words.
Right.
I think that's the key message. And I'm finding myself, when we slow down enough, then we can feel it. And when we can feel it, the audience can feel it. And it's actually the very same that I say to my writers. You have to feel when you're writing, or else your reader will not feel. So the same principle actually applies to both page and stage. Slow down enough to embody the message.
Beautiful, because the when did experience, the reader was going, and I went, hang on a minute, can I stop you? Let me model that for you. She came back and did it again. She went, I can feel the energy rising. I said, yes, and I can see it too. Wow, what a powerful presentation she did as a result of it. It was
amazing.
It's remembering it again. Brilliant. So thank you. Slowing down, feeling, embodying your words. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Krystal. I've missed off.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you
Say
for
again?
sharing with us your page to stage. For now, bye from us.
Bye.